Just when I thought this Rafael Devers situation couldn't get any crazier, the Red Sox bring in the big guns. We're going to talk about everything that transpired before yesterday's game, plus recap the game of very, very disappointing loss to the Kansas City Royals. But before we do that, we are 15 subscribers away from our next milestone of 1,700 subscribers. We're trying to grow this channel, make it the fastest growing Red Sox YouTube channel on the internet. So if you love the Red Sox and you've not already subscribed, what are you doing? Help out, hit that subscribe button. Let's get to our next goal of 1,700 subscribers. So this is wild, guys. This Rafael Devers saga continues to take twist after turn after twist after turn. Got a tweet yesterday that John Henry, Sam Kennedy, and Craig Breslow flew out to Kansas City yesterday to meet with Rafael Devers. You're not hearing that wrong. John Henry flew out to Kansas City yesterday to have a conversation with Rafael Devers. And according to all the reports and all the quotes, it was John Henry who was having the conversation. It was basically, I think Cora was in the room with them, but it was basically a one-on-one conversation between John Henry and Rafael Devers. We have all the quotes from Craig Breslow and Alex Cora about what transpired, where they stand, what's going on around Rafael Devers. Let's get into it. I'm not even going to mince any words here. Let's get into it. We have quotes from Craig Breslow and Alex Cora on the John Henry Rafael Devers conversation. Craig Breslow said this. He said it was an honest conversation about what we value as an organization and what we believe is important to the Boston Red Sox. And apparently that has to do with being a good teammate, making the team first, things like that. That's kind of what that conversation involved. Alex Cora had this say. He said he expressed his feelings. John did the same thing. I think the most important thing here is we're trying to accomplish something big here. And obviously there's changes on the roster, situations that happened, and you have to adjust. I cannot stress enough how big it is that John Henry traveled to Kansas City. We all know, and we've all bashed John Henry in the past, and yes, he hasn't spent money over the past few years, and blah, 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 blah. But him taking action here is fairly significant. This shows that, one, he is still paying attention to what's happening with the big league club. Not that he wouldn't, but he's paying attention, like in the weeds paying attention. And two, he cares enough that he takes a flight the next day to Kansas City, the middle of the United States, to have a one-on-one sit-down conversation with Rafael Devers. That is no small feat. John Henry has his hands in a bunch of different buckets with a bunch of different sports teams and all of this stuff. The Red Sox, while they are very important to him, are not the only thing that he is worried about in his life. And so for him to take that trip, literally flip on the dime the next day and fly out and talk to Rafi is significant. And I actually have to give props to John Henry for doing that because, again, we've all crapped on John Henry, but he's spent money this offseason, which was significant. And on top of that, he is making the effort to fly out to talk to the face of the franchise who is disgruntled. That's significant. I do have to give some hats off to John Henry for that. As much as we crap on him, he's taking charge. And I really, really like that is what's happening. Then we got just this is the first time we've heard Breslow and Cora really talk about this. So we've got just some really general quotes from Cora and Breslow on the Devers situation and where we stand on Devers playing first base. Craig Breslow started, he said that decision was never going to be made on the couch in the office in Kansas City. He said that conversation is ongoing. The most important thing here is we believe we've got a really good team that's capable of winning a bunch of games and playing meaningful games down the stretch. That's what we need to remain focused on, which I completely agree with. Alex Cora, they asked about him, is he going to start taking grounders at first and things like that. He said, it's not the plan right now. The plan is to keep having conversations. And then Craig Breslow continued on with why he thinks that Rafael Devers should be the first baseman. I think that's at least probably what the question was. He said, he's a guy with obvious significant experience at a corner infield position. We feel like it would be a transition others would have to make that we think he can make. I recognize that it's not that simple. These aren't the type of moves that can be made overnight. The initial conversation Rafi and I had was in an exploratory nature. Rafi makes the most sense at first base, I think, of any of the options that we have right now, because not only does he have that third base experience, but his bat is very, very valuable. You get a net positive over a Romy Gonzalez or an Abraham Torre, or anyone that you throw out there. You have a net positive offensively, and that opens up a DH spot where you can bring a Masataka Yoshida out of injury purgatory hell, or you can call up a Roman Anthony and, play him half DH, half outfield. Like, the possibilities there are huge. And Rafi not letting that happen is kind of doing a disservice to the team. However, this will take time, though. You cannot expect Rafael Devers to just walk out and play first base tomorrow. That won't happen. To Rafi's credit, it will take time. It will be an adjustment. But I do think it's something that he should at least consider, and he should do, because I think it does help the team in the long run. That's at least my argument. And to all the people saying, oh my God, he was horrible at third, he's going to be horrible at first. While they are similar, they are different positions. A lot of Rafael Devers' errors came on throwing errors. He won't have to do that at first base. Very rarely will he have to do that. So I think you have a lot of the good about his defense that will translate to first base and not as much of the bad. But that's just, my Monday morning quarterbacking. That is what it is. But he makes the most sense. It will take time, but he does make the most sense. Breslow did talk about the riff between him and Devers and kind of his thoughts and his perspective on the entire thing. He said, I am anchored to acting in the best interest of the organization. That's the obligation I have, and that's not going to change. If there are opportunities for me to communicate more clearly and more frequently, I would want that feedback and I would want to honor it. In terms of this situation, my sense is we are going to focus on what's most important. That's winning games. Rafi was clearly frustrated with the situation. My reaction was potentially there was some misunderstanding on the communication or an opportunity to more clearly provide communication. Look, at the end of the day, Breslow, I do think, is most to blame for this situation. He handled it horribly. He'll have to fix it, and I think he is. I think he will have to sit down with Rafi. I don't really think this was a conversation between him and Rafi. This was a conversation between him, John Henry, and Alex Cora, I believe, was in the room, is what I believe the situation was. But no doubt, eventually Breslow will have to sit down with Rafi and try to fix all of this, because it's botched. Even if it is just a communication error, it's not a good communication error. If you're the face of your franchise is going out and publicly criticizing the GM of the organization, that is a bad communication error if it is one. So Breslow's going to have to fix this, and I hope that this was the first step in the right direction. It seems, from what we've heard, Devers did not talk after the game. I think a good decision. But from everything we heard from Breslow and Cora, it seems like this at least took us going in the right direction, at least a little bit. So we'll see, though. There's a lot of time between this getting, fixed. And Breslow's going to have to fix it. He's the GM. It's his job. He's going to have to fix this. And if he doesn't, then we're going to have a pretty bad situation. And then just to round it all out, we have a fairly long quote from Alex Cora about the situation as a whole, because we know that Cora and Devers have a really, really great relationship. And I was a little worried. We talked about it in yesterday's video. Did Craig Breslow go do this behind Alex Cora's back? Cora did clarify. So here is the quote. We had conversations about everything. This isn't just a conversation that just happened behind my back. We had conversations about it. This is the way the organization feels. There was one conversation about that, and we're going to keep having those. There were a few things I agree with what Devers said. There's others I respected, And I've been saying all along, when the mic is in front of you, be you. He was very transparent on how he felt about it. You don't have to agree with him, but you respect that. The most important thing here is we're trying to accomplish something big. Obviously, there's changes in the roster, situations that happen. You have to adjust, or you have to adjust again. I don't love this quote from Cora. I'll explain that in a second, but I am glad to know that Cora and Brez are at least on the same page. Breslow didn't go behind Cora's back to have this conversation. They knew that this was going to happen. But I don't fully agree with Cora in terms of, yeah, I respect what Rafi said. I can respect what Rafi said about, hey, this situation kind of sucks and they've kind of been, pulling me around in different directions. I kind of understand that, but just straight up calling out the GM and straight up, airing out all of your frustrations, I don't think that was a great decision. And I don't think that should have happened. And I know that Cora is the ultimate player's manager, and I know that him and Rafi have a really great relationship. But, yeah, I mean, I get what Cora was saying. He's like, look, I may not agree with it, but I respect that he was outwardly open about it. I don't know. I don't know. Calling out the GM the way that he did, that just wasn't a great call. But that's it. That's what we got from the entire situation. You let me know. This was a very long first half of the video. We're going to get to the recap here in a second. But will Rafael Devers end up playing first base? Y for yes, N for no. I'm typing my Y for yes. I think eventually he will play first base. I think this John Henry situation really did light a fire under his ass. You let me know. Will he play first base? Y for yes, N for no. When we get more updates on this, we will make a video, so make sure you subscribe. Like I said, 15 subscribers away from our next milestone. You don't want to miss out. Hit that subscribe button. Daily videos around the Boston Red Sox. All right, Red Sox lose 2-1 in extra innings. I'm going to go through this a little quicker because we've already spent 12 minutes on the Rafael Devers situation, but I want to talk about it nonetheless. They lose 2-1 in 12 innings. Ugly game. Really, I was very angry after this game because you waste a Hunter Dobbins gem. Hunter Dobbins goes 5 innings, strikes out 6, no walks, no runs. He threw a gem. And I think he deserves a spot in this rotation going forward. He looks really good. And this was a really good Kansas City Royals team. Like, I know the criticism of Dobbins at the beginning of the season was the first 2 games he pitched were against not good teams. The Royals are a good team. And he shut them down for 6 innings. You cannot squander that. You can't. Especially when you're facing Michael Lorenzen, the bottom of their rotation. This was a must-win game for the Red Sox, and they let it fall. And the worst part is you used basically your entire bullpen. Greg Weissert had an inning of ball. He walked 2, but got out of it clean. Justin Wilson went 2/3 innings. Justin Slayton went an inning and a third and looked good, which was something that I was worried about. Aroldis Chapman went an inning, had 2 Ks, looked really good. Garrett Whitlock, I'll talk about him in a second. Brendan Bernardino went 1/3 of an inning. Sean Newcomb went 1/3 of an inning and then ended up giving up the walk-off. But at that point, there was nothing they can do. They moved the runner over to third with 1 out. That game was over. You were cooked. Garrett Whitlock's a problem. He went 2/3 innings. He gave up a run. He gave up a hit. He walked 1. He did strike out 2, but the damage was done giving up the run. The Red Sox went up 1-0. Garrett Whitlock comes in to shut the door. He can't do it. He gives up a run. He blows the save. His 3rd blown save in 4 appearances. He's a problem. I don't know what you need to do, but something needs to happen. He needs to get his confidence back. I don't know what his issue is. And look, Garrett Whitlock, I love Garrett Whitlock. I think he's great. But blowing 3 out of your last 4 opportunities, you blowing 3 out of 4 saves, that's a problem. And in a game like last night, where every run and every out counts, and you blow a save again on a must-win game, that's an issue. Why is Luis Guerrero not up on this roster? He should be up on this roster. I think that is malpractice by Craig Breslow. Why? Luis Guerrero has been one of your most consistent relievers all year. Until he shows you otherwise, he should be in this bullpen. I digress, though. I'm not the GM. I don't know what I'm talking about. You let me know, though. Does Hunter Dobbins deserve a full-time spot in the rotation? Type B if you think he deserves to stay in Boston, or type W if you think he should be sent back down to Worcester. Let me know. I'm typing my B for Boston. He deserves it. He has been phenomenal in his 4 starts. That third start was a little shaky, but the other 3 have been great. And this start last night against Kansas City was absolutely phenomenal. So I'm typing my B for Boston, but you let me know down below. The lineup sucked tonight. They sucked. They scored 1 run. They didn't walk a single time. They struck out 10 times. Jarren Duran went 0 for 5 with a K. Bad. Wilyer Abreu went 0 for 5. Bad. He gets a bit of a pass, though. Trevor's Story is a black hole in this offense. He went 0 for 5 again tonight with a K. He has an OPS of 646. Every time he comes up to bat, you just know he's going to get out. It's a problem. I don't know what you need to do, but it's a problem. And when you've got Marcelo Meyer knocking on the door in AAA, Trevor Story's losing ground here. And he's not doing himself any favors. And something's got to change. Something has to change. The rest of the offense had at least 1 hit, but that was it. Nobody had no multi-hit games. Everyone had 4 or 5 at-bats. No multi-hit games. And Rafaela has the lone run, but he was the ghost runner at second. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what this offense is doing. I don't know what they're thinking. Michael Lorenzen was fine, but then, they used 5 relievers as well. You scored 1 run. Why are we not bunting guys over in extra innings? It's not that hard. Just put the ball in play. Don't fly out into the infield or strike out. I mean, that's on Cora. It is. Look, I love Cora. I'll defend Cora till the day I die, but that's on Cora. This was a head-scratching day for Cora. Also, why'd you not have Hunter Dobbins go 7? He only threw 81 pitches. You pulled him in the 6th. I don't understand that because you probably would have saved one of these relievers. You used basically your entire bullpen last night. And you faced Cole Reagans today. I mean, if you need a signature Garrett Crochet outing, it needs to be today. You need him to go 7-8 innings. You need him to shut down the Royals. And then you need to hope and pray that this offense can score a few runs. Because if last night was any indication, this is looking like a sweep. And it ain't looking good. But I don't know. I'm at a loss for words. I don't know what to do. Last night was a must-win game if you were going to win this series, and you let it fall through your fingers because the offense was absolutely atrocious. It was horrible. No walks, 10 Ks. What does that say about your approach? Now, the umpire was horrible last night. I will say that. I'm not gonna say that. The umpire was horrible. Actually, I wanna. Sorry, this is gonna be a long video, guys. Just bear with me. I want to look at the umpire scorecard from last night. They're just starting to come out. Actually, see if the Red Sox one's in here. Let's see. Do we have the Red Sox umpire scorecard? There it is. 83% called strike accuracy. And the overall favor of this game was the Royals by 0.09. So that didn't shift the game in any way. It wasn't like a run favor. 83% called strike accuracy, though. How does that happen? That's absolutely atrocious. And it was both sides, too. But, I don't. Top 6. I'm looking at it right now. Top 6. Michael Lorenzen and Christian Campbell. 2 outs. Runners on first and second. A 1-2 count. A ball in the dirt was called a strike. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. But again, that you can't blame the umps for a loss. The offense was horrible last night. The approach to the plate was terrible. So it is what it is. Predict the score of today's game. Let me know down below in the comments what you think. I don't know. I don't know. But you let me know. Predict the score down below in the comments. Make sure you subscribe. This is going to be a very long video. I appreciate you all for watching. I wanted to give you all the quotes and everything you needed to know about the Rafael Devers situation. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And until next time, go Sox.